She stopped taking birth control without telling me got pregnant and said she did it out of love. It broke my trust, and for a while, I didn't know if we could come back from that. I, 32M, met my wife, 30F, in a library. Cliché, I know. But I mean that literally. She worked there part-time. I was trying to study and failing because she kept laughing at the stupid audiobook she was shelving. We started dating a week later. We've been married almost 6 years now. We have a 4-year-old, son who calls her his favorite person, and me his hero. That alone made me think we were doing something right. I don't have horror stories to tell about my marriage. We fight, sure. About dishes, laundry, who gets to sleep in on Saturdays. But there was love in all of it. We said thank you, and good night, and I love you, even when we were annoyed. She used to kiss my shoulder when she walked past. I used to make her tea before bed, those tiny things that feel invisible until they're gone. Our son was a surprise baby. We weren't married yet when she found out, but we were already planning a future. And somehow it just fast-tracked everything. He became the center of our universe. And I don't regret a second of it, but parenting changed things. She stayed home the first year. I picked up a second job for a while. Sleep disappeared. So did money and time and patience. Still, we adjusted. Because that's what people do when they're in love. Money's always been a thing. We're not drowning, but we're stretched. Daycare is brutal. Rent eats half our income. Groceries feel like a scam. The AC broke last summer and we just dealt with it. We don't live fancy, but we live honestly. Which is why when she brought up the idea of a second child, I froze. She mentioned it during a walk, casual, offhand. Wouldn't it be sweet to give him a sibling soon? I didn't say. No, I said, not now. And she nodded. Didn't argue, said she understood. I told her I just wanted us to feel a little more stable first. I wanted to be able to give both kids what they needed, not just enough to scrape by. She said she agreed. For a while, it felt like we were aligned. She started talking about maybe going back to part-time work. We budgeted better. I even started picking up freelance hours at night after our son went to bed. It felt like we were working together again, like a team. She started being more affectionate again, holding my hand in the grocery store, leaving sticky notes in my lunch. One morning, she kissed me and said, "You're such a good dad." It hit me hard, because I'd been feeling like a tired one, not a good one. I remember thinking, this is what makes it worth it. I didn't notice anything was different. She didn't act strange. No sudden mood swings, no hidden pills, no conversations that felt off. We were still using protection, her on the pill, me occasionally with condoms too, just to be careful. Same as always. At least that's what I thought. She told me on a Wednesday, sat me down after we put our son to bed, said she had something to share. I panicked, thought someone had died, or that she was sick. Then she smiled, and said, "I'm pregnant." I didn't speak. She kept smiling like it was a gift. I asked how. She said, "It just happened." I asked about her birth control. She paused, looked down, said, "I stopped a few months ago. I thought you'd come around." I felt everything in me twist. Not because of the baby, but because of what she just admitted, like it was nothing. She took away my voice in the biggest decision of our lives. And I don't know how to look at her the same way again. She reached for my hand. I didn't give it. Not out of spite, just instinct. I didn't move. My body didn't want to. She noticed. Her smile dropped just slightly. Then she said, "I knew you'd need a minute." A minute? I needed my marriage to stop spinning. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. She fell asleep quickly, peacefully, like she'd made a wish and it came true. I stared at the wall between us and wondered when it had been built, because I hadn't noticed until I was already on the other side of it. The next morning, she acted normal, packed lunch for our son, made coffee, hummed along to some song she always plays when she's in a good mood. I kept waiting for her to bring it up again to ask how I was feeling. She didn't. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "We're gonna be okay." Like it was already decided. I didn't talk to anyone for 2 days. Not because I was hiding, I just didn't know how to say it out loud without feeling like I was betraying her somehow. It's a strange thing, grieving trust in someone who's still right in front of you. I broke down and called my brother. He's older, divorced, cynical, and never liked how much I took on. I told him the truth, the full story. He went quiet for a few seconds, then said, "Man, that's not a baby. That's a trap." I told him not to call it that, even though some part of me had already thought it too. She started calling it Our Little Miracle. She showed me a Pinterest board full of baby names and neutral nursery themes. I nodded, smiled weakly, played along. I wasn't angry. I was numb. Because when she called it Our Miracle, I realized only one of us had prayed for it. At dinner a few nights later, I finally asked, "When were you going to tell me you stopped taking the pill?" She looked down, stirred her food. "I don't know. I didn't think it would happen right away." I asked again, quieter. "Why didn't you tell me?" she said. "Because I knew you'd say no, and I didn't want to fight." That broke me, more than the pregnancy itself, because what she meant was, I heard your no, and chose to ignore it. I started sleeping on the couch. I didn't make a scene, just quietly took my pillow after she fell asleep. She noticed, didn't ask. She just started leaving folded blankets on the armrest before bed, like she'd accepted it, like she'd planned for it. Our son noticed. "Why do you sleep on the couch, Daddy?" I told him I snore too much. He giggled, believed me. She heard. And later that night, she whispered, "You don't have to punish me like this." I didn't answer, because she still didn't get it. This wasn't punishment, it was protection, for me. I started looking up therapists the next morning. Not for us. For me. Because I still loved her, still wanted to believe we could find our way back. But I also knew I couldn't do it alone. And right now, that's exactly how I felt. I started therapy the next week. First session, the therapist asked what brought me in. I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. Because how do you explain betrayal by someone who's still making your dinner and kissing? "Your son, good night?" I finally said, "She made a choice for both of us, and now I don't know who I married." At home, she was glowing. Said the nausea was manageable. She wanted to tell our son soon and said he'd be so excited. I smiled. Weakly, she asked what was wrong. I said, "I'm still adjusting." She nodded like that was reasonable. But the truth was, I wasn't adjusting. I was mourning. We told our son. He laughed. Said he wanted a brother and a sister. One of each. She teared up, hugged him, looked at me like this was our turning point. It wasn't. I hugged him, not her. She started calling it our baby in every sentence. Our baby's the size of a plum. Our baby loves mac and cheese. Our baby wants you to rub my feet. It made my skin crawl. Because it didn't feel like ours. It felt like something she made without me, then handed me like a gift and said, "You're welcome." One night she asked, "Are you still mad at me?" I said, "I'm not mad. I'm hurt." She exhaled like that was easier to handle, then asked, "But you still love me, right?" I didn't answer right away. She started crying before I could. I told my therapist I was trying to forgive her. He asked, "What are you forgiving? The pregnancy? Or the fact that she took away your choice?" I said, "Both, I think." He just nodded and said, "That's a heavy thing to forgive quietly." We went to dinner, just the two of us. She dressed up, wore the earrings I gave. Her 2 anniversaries ago, the waitress asked if we were celebrating something. My wife said, "A new beginning." I smiled on cue. But inside, I was still standing at the ending. She never let me grieve. She asked about baby names one night, said she'd always loved Ivy for a girl. I said nothing. She kept going, listed a dozen. Finally, she stopped and said, "Don't." "You care?" I said. "I cared when I thought we were doing this together." She came into the living room late one night, found me staring at the ceiling in the dark, sat beside me, put her hand on my knee. "I don't know how to fix this." I looked at her, not angry, just exhausted. "I don't either." She cried. I didn't. My therapist asked, "Do you want to save this marriage?" I said yes. He asked, "Why?" I said, "Because I still love her." He paused. "Can you trust her again?" I didn't answer, because that I wasn't sure of anymore. The baby came early. Labor was fast, messy, scary. I held her hand the whole time. When it was over, she looked at me with that same look she had when she told me she was pregnant. Like this was all beautiful. Like we were okay now. And I didn't say it out loud, but all I could think was, "You brought me back to this moment without my permission." I held the baby. She was perfect, warm, loud. She looked like her brother, and I felt something twist in me, something that felt like love and guilt and resentment all braided together. Because this child didn't ask to be a symbol, but that's what she was now. People visited, family cried. Her mother said, "Now you have your perfect little family." I smiled, took pictures, passed around the baby, but inside, I wanted to scream, "You don't know what it cost to look like this." Nights became chaos again. Feedings, crying, diaper changes. We moved like partners, but not like lovers. I still couldn't sleep next to her. She stopped asking me to. Sometimes I wondered if she was waiting for me to leave. Other times I wondered if she already had, months ago, the moment she chose herself over us. I opened a separate bank account, not because I was planning to walk out, but because I needed something that was mine, a space that didn't feel like performance, a piece of my life untouched by her decisions. It felt like breathing again. We started couples therapy. First session, she cried, said she just wanted to feel close again. I said I wanted honesty. The therapist asked, "Do you regret the baby?" She said no. I didn't answer, because the answer wasn't no. It wasn't yes. It was, I regret the way it happened. One night she asked me, "Do you still love me?" I stared at her for a long time. Finally, I said, "I don't know if I love who you are now, but I still love who we were." She cried. I didn't. My son asked if we were happy. I said yes. He said, "You don't smile like you used to." Kids notice everything. My therapist asked if I was staying because I wanted to, or because I was afraid of what leaving would do to my kids. I said both. Then I asked, "Is that good enough?" He said, "It's honest, but it's not sustainable. I haven't left, but I haven't fully returned either. We share a house, a mortgage, 2 kids. But I don't share myself the way I used to, and maybe one day we'll find our way back. But right now, I'm just trying to forgive someone who hasn't fully admitted what they took from me. And I'm learning that love without trust is just obligation dressed in memories." Update. Original post was about 1 year ago. I wanted to share where we're at now. We didn't get divorced. We didn't pretend it never happened either. We stayed, and we worked. The baby is here. Healthy, loud, beautiful. She's 7 months old now. I love her. Not just because I'm supposed to, but because I do. She's got my eyes and her mom's lungs. Our son is obsessed with her. He's actually mad she can't walk yet because he wants to show her how to do big boy stuff. But none of that erased what happened. Couples therapy has been hard, slower than I expected. Some weeks we leave feeling connected, other weeks I just feel drained. But we go. My wife has started to understand the weight of what she did. Not just that it hurt me, but why. She told me she thought because we were married and because we already had a child that this decision was hers to make if she felt ready. She said she didn't see it as betrayal at the time. She saw it as a leap of faith. Now she calls it a breach of trust, which honestly felt like the first real step forward. I've told her everything, how small it made me feel, how it shook my sense of safety, how I couldn't even hold her hand in the hospital without flinching. That part nearly broke her, but she listened. She didn't defend, and that's what's changed. She stopped trying to win me back. Now she's just showing up, present, honest, even when it's messy. We still have hard moments. There's still a lot I haven't forgotten, even if I've forgiven. I still sleep in the guest room some nights, but now it's not out of anger. It's just when I need space, and she understands that. We're rebuilding trust, not by sweeping it under the rug, but by naming it, sitting with it, letting the pain breathe instead of burying it. Some days I look at her and see the person I married. Other days, I see the version of her who made a choice without me. But more and more, I'm starting to see the version I think we both want to become, someone who made a mistake, but refused to stay the person who made it. It's not a clean ending, but it's a real one. And right now, real is enough.